20 strangest things found in ice. You will never believe what people have found in the frozen glaciers of ice around the world. Researchers have even found ice samples from historical times with layers of lava ash between ice layers. That may be a little scientific for your taste, so here are the 20 strangest things found in ice. Number 20. Life forms in a subglacial lake. Located below the East Antarctic ice sheet, Lake Vostok is one of Antarctica's subglacial lakes. The lake has been secure shut under 13,100 feet of ice for millions of years, meaning no sunlight, unimaginable freezing temperatures, and immense atmospheric pressure from the ice, making it an unforgivable environment. But studies of the ice core have revealed some exotic microorganism traces, suggesting over 3,500 species living under the millions of years old ice. In theory, it is said that these microbes live in their own recycled carbon. Are they preparing for another evolution? Number 19. Sacrificed INCAN children. In 1999, 3 mummies were found at the frozen mountains of Lilalako. These mummies are known as the children of Lilalako, and they are the finest preserved mummies in the world. Out of the 3 bodies found, 1 was a teenage girl, and the other 2 boys are believed to be 6 and 7 years old at the time of death. According to the researchers, they are the victims of a human sacrifice locals used to conduct to ensure a healthy and rich harvest around 1500 years ago. Number 18. A Martian meteorite. In 1984, on 27 December, a group of researchers found a small part of a meteorite from Mars buried under ice today known as Allen Hills. In 1966, the rock made it to the national news when scientists confirmed that they had found traces of bacteria in the rock, claiming that there was once life on Mars. The claim was eventually rejected due to a lack of evidence since the rock was 4 billion years old. Number 17. An entire mountain range. Subglacial Gamburstev mountain range is located in East Antarctica. Soviet geophysicist Grigory Gamburtsev first discovered it. They tower roughly 9,000 feet, the same size as the Alps, and span over 750 miles. The only thing is, you can't actually see the mountains themselves, as they're buried under 2,000 feet of ice. The Earth really is a fascinating place. Number 16. YUKA the Mammoth. In 2010, a group of local people of YUKA village in Serbia came across a mummified corpse of a mammoth that is said to have died nearly 39,000 years ago. When frozen to death, the mammoth was 6 to 7 years old and weighed 5 tons in weight. YUKA the mammoth is the finest one-piece specimen of the ancient animal and can be seen on display in Moscow. Number 15. A dead body. Sadly, this is not a hundreds of years old mummy. The body was discovered in 2017 by a hiker in a crevice on New Zealand's Fox Glacier. He contacted the police, and the initial investigation revealed that the body was no less than 5 years old. Further, the authorities discovered that the corpse was of a British woman, Cynthia Charlton. Charlton died in a helicopter accident along with 7 other victims, including her husband. Number 14. The remains of ANDRÉE'S Arctic expedition. In the late 19th century, Swedish balloonist S.A. Andrée set out to reach the North Pole in a hot air balloon. Many claimed that this was a bad idea, but Andrée's optimism and nationalistic pride made him ignore the warnings. He, along with his 2 companions, set off in July 1897 and never returned again. It wasn't until 1930 an expedition studying the nearby glaciers found their remains. Along with the carcasses, a well-preserved photographic film had the photos of the crashed balloon. The balloon had crashed just 2 days after liftoff, and the men had trekked back south. They died approximately 3 months later. Number 13. Mexican climbers. If you were here for the creeps, this story will do the job. On the slopes of Mexico's Pico de Orizaba, a climber slipped and fell face to face with a mummy head and arms sticking out of the snow. The authorities were contacted. Eventually, 2 more frozen mummies were discovered. An 81-year-old named Luis Espinosa claimed that he knew the mummies, as he was part of a tragic expedition that took 3 lives in 1959. Number 12. A preserved mummy head. 2017 was not the best year for people who worked around the ice, or it was the best, depending on where you stand. In the Zeleny Yar burial site near the Russian town of Salkard, archaeologists found a mummy burial site. They found 2 mummies. One was an adult woman and the other was a baby. Estimated to be 900 years old, the demise belonged to medieval culture. Interestingly, the female mummy was the only female in the burial ground. Only her head had been preserved. You can still see her hair and eyelashes on the head, and her face has a hint of green tint due to the copper she was buried in. Number 11. Ice caves and frozen waves. Iceland's Vatna Glacier is Europe's second largest ice cap. It covers roughly 8% of the country. It's quite a famous glacier and has been seen in many pieces of pop culture throughout the years, including the Game of Thrones and the James Bond film A View to a Kill. Beneath the glacier is massive ice caves, with ceilings and walls that look like giant waves frozen in time. They're actually created by geothermal springs. It's surreal, it's gorgeous, but it's also unsettling. Number 10. 3 members of the Franklin Expedition. Many of us are familiar with the unlucky Franklin Expedition from Dan Simmons' novel The Terror and its television show. 3 members of the expedition, John Torrington, William Brain, and John Hartnell, died shortly after they departed before the ships became stuck in the pack ice. They were buried on Beechy Island, Nunavut, in 1846 and found in 1984. Anthropologists found surprisingly well-preserved corpses. Their faces are contorted, their eyes were frozen open, and their skin is frostbitten. Imagine coming across someone's ill fate like this. Number 9. ÖTZI the Iceman. ÖTZI is the naturally mummified corpse of a man who died around 3300 BC and is undoubtedly the most famous natural mummy in the world. It was first found in 1991 on the border of Austria and Italy by German tourists. It is believed that the man died by excessive bleeding by taking an arrow and is now on display at Italy's South Tyrol Museum of Archaeology. Number 8. A mysterious pyramid. The internet went wild in 2016 when a mysterious pyramid-like structure was photographed in Antarctica. It is speculated that humans once inhabited Antarctica and built pyramids like the Egyptians. Still, the conspiracies lead them directly to aliens, as it turns out on closer inspection that the so-called pyramid was just the peak of a buried mountain sticking out of the snow. Number 7. Dinosaur bones. Many dinosaur bones were found in the Antarctic tundra in 1986 by Argentinian geologists Eduardo Olivero and Roberto Scasso, discovered the first unearthed remains of Antarctopelta oliverio. These bones were found on James Ross Island, as were the bones of Trinosaura. Number 6. Ancient bacteria. Scientists' startling discovery in 2005 when they found ancient bacteria that had been completely frozen in the ice for roughly 32,000 years. To make matters even more creepy, the bacteria came back to life. They immediately started swimming when the ice melted. According to NASA, this made the bacteria the first fully described, validated species ever found alive in ancient ice. Number 5. Mysterious holes. Back in 2016 and 2017, people worldwide were creeped out when massive holes appeared in the Antarctic ice. These holes were found in the Weddell Sea, and one covered an area of 31,000 square miles, making it roughly the size of Maine. Now that is one big hole. Experts deduced that this was a polynya, which is the fancy term for a hole of open water in the middle of sea ice. And while scientists knew what the hole was, they didn't know how it got there, as polynyas are typically found near the coast. Known as the Weddell polynya, it hadn't been seen since 1976, an intense winter cyclone likely caused it. Number 4. Bloody looking water. Antarctica is a place of nightmares. An area is named Blood Falls after some people witnessed dark red water flowing out of Taylor Glacier in 1911. The sight is horrifying to imagine, but science saved the day. The creepy colour is due to the presence of iron oxide in the water of the lake under the glacier. Number 3. Viruses. In 2015, a group of researchers from China and the United States travelled to the Gulia ice cap in Tibet and drilled a 164-foot hole into the ice to study samples and 33 different viruses, 28 of which had never been seen before by human eyes. Is this the answer to the COVID-19 virus we are facing today? Number 2. World War I soldiers. During World War I, Allies battled the Austro-Hungarian Empire along the snowy mountains of the Alps. Thousands of soldiers were killed by avalanches. In the early 2010s, The mountain ice began to melt and started depositing long-lost frozen artifacts around the area. These included weapons, love letters, and dozens of mummified corpses. Number 1. Remains of a military transport aircraft. In November 1952, a military transport aircraft carrying 52 people crashed into Alaska's Chugach Mountains. Researchers found the aircraft stuck on the mountain 8,000 feet above. Since they couldn't be rescued, the remains stayed on the mountain for the next 60 years until, in 2012, Alaska Army National Guard found the plane on training and found the survival raft 14 miles from the wreckage. Even if the passengers survived the crash, they died in the cold weather. Do you know of any creepy discoveries? Please share with us in the comments below, and give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.